I can post this to other places or have it. Happy Sunday, everybody. Sunday afternoon here. And if you're watching this in the future, happy whatever day it is for you. I really wanted to kind of just pop on and a little while ago, I was talking about kind of this concept of being okay with not being okay and what that means. And we were talking a little bit about what that is in the nervous system, our biology. And I wanted to touch upon something kind of in the same theme, in the same realm. And there's a couple pieces. One is I was kind of contemplating about really like fundamentally like why we actually don't trust, like what's the root of why we don't really trust our own bodies and biology. And there's, I think, some beliefs out there where we think we're like, okay, I need to get into my body. Um, I need to be more embodied. Like there's this awareness. But interestingly enough, we're kind of taking on this attitude towards the process of how we get there, towards the process of how we actually heal our nervous system, how we actually regulate our nervous system, and the pathway there. It's really interesting to me because the pathway that often we're taking is the pathway that kind of got us where we are in the first place. So this is kind of what I wanted to talk a little bit about. I wanted to talk a little bit about sort of the nature of our nervous system biology and why we often we kind of often go into this loop of mistrust. And so that's what I wanted to talk about. If you're new to me, I'm Jen. Welcome. I'm just going to kind of go back and forth. I'm kind of looking at myself here on Zoom because I'm recording this, but I also wanted to just check to see if there's anybody joining me live. So, okay, awesome. If you do have comments, either in the present or in the future, let me know. I'm happy to answer any questions. So, let's talk a little bit about biology and why it's important. So, as humans, we're kind of curious because lighting. We think because we think that we are somehow in control of our biological processes. And at the same time, we tend to villainize our biological processes. And we kind of see that if we can't be in control of our biology, like this mind over matter thing, if we can't control our biology, that somehow there's something wrong with us. And I feel like this statement or these statements is kind of like a base or fundamentals of one of the reasons why we struggle so much with what it is to be human on like a fundamental level, right? We think about things like our emotions, which are chemical responses. I, as like a little aside, I had somebody asked me about, like the most important things, happiness or something like that. And I'm like, that that's so ridiculous because happiness is a moving state. It's not a constant, and nor is it meant to be, right? Which is one of the reasons, like when we can actually be with, for example, emotions that are challenging, like anger and sadness, and we can actually really have the capacity in our systems to be with those things. They actually move through us, and we realize that they're not a constant state of being. Nothing is a constant state of being, nor is happiness, nor is joy, nor is sadness. All of these emotions and states of beings are really just like a fluid motion moving through our biology, through our nervous system. And so I kind of wanted to kind of touch on that piece, but I wanted to talk a little bit more about why we tend to not trust our biology. And I think a lot of this comes from one is sort of a misunderstanding of when things are happening, when processes are happening, when we're feeling things that are a lot, we often feel like it's never happened before, right? I think about there was a woman I was watching her talk about the process of adolescence, for example, and for a lot of young girls, when they get their first period, they think there's something wrong with them, right? Because no one has prepared for something that is actually really normal. And in our culture, we periods are taboo. We don't talk about them, right? So there isn't this like open conversation. So what happens is it breeds shame and all these different places. But it's not just periods, right? It's anxiety. It's all of these different expressions, not necessarily they become taboo, but they are often very misunderstood. And they're often a really simple, natural process of biology. And one of the things that we try to do is we try to, make it mental, and we try to kind of like analyze these things in attempt to try to control something that we can't control. And one of the first pieces in nervous system healing is really accepting our biology. It's accepting that we're animals and that being actually okay, that being normal, that all of the feelings, all of the intensity, all of this expression is totally normal. But how do we get to that place? Because when we're in a place where we have been for 20, 30, 50, 80 years on this planet, maybe in a state of really like shutting down our connection to that which is who we are, to our animal being. How do we start to open to having a different kind of relationship when we only really know one kind of relationship, right? And this is true even like in alternative medicine, because really it's the same. It doesn't matter if it's Western medicine or Eastern medicine. Like, we will apply our perspective onto everything, no matter what the technique is. We will apply our subconscious cultural paradigm on that, right? We don't even realize we do it because we don't even actually really see our paradigm. But here's the interesting thing, is actually that's okay. One of the incredible things about our biology is that it always lives in the present. It's always, we can't override it, which is one of the things that we struggle with against the most, but it also is one of the greatest gifts, because our biology is our biology is our biology, and it really does not care. Just like I think about my cats, they live in the present. They're like, freaked out by some loud noise outside in one moment, and the next moment they are purring and chilling. And it's because they're not really thinking about whether that was okay or not, or like what's wrong with me. They just have a deep sense of authentic trust in their own biology, right? So I'm just going to go back and forth. If you guys see me kind of back and forth here. Okay, I'm just checking in to see if there's any comments. So one of the things that I wanted to talk a little bit about as well is sort of this process, because when it comes to where we want to be, often we want to be in this place where we're embodied, we're fluid, we can be with our emotions, we can have this sense of like, what does it mean to be okay with not being okay? Like, how can I be more okay with everything? How can I be more okay with my being, with my body, with who I am, with my expression, with my experience, with other people's experience, right? Because if I'm okay with my experience, it means that I could also be okay with your experience, which gives you permission. That's a powerful thing. It gives you permission just to be you. It's a very rare thing here, right? It's a very rare thing. I mean, when was the last time someone really truly witnessed your stuff? Like, I mean, not like the good stuff, like the stuff that we try to hide usually, right? Like, when was the last time you were really witnessed and allowed to be without trying to like be managed or fixed or manipulated or controlled in any way, right? Usually the thing with healing is usually the healing world is full of people who are trying to fix us, right? And this is the amazing thing about working with the biodynamic field, is that biodynamics acknowledges that we're not actually broken to begin with, right? So there is an intelligence to our system, there is an intelligence to our biology. But the question is, how can we actually start to change our relationship with that intelligence? What is the thing that we need to do? And that's part of the problem, is that we're in a culture where we have been trained that we need to do things, right? We're in a culture that we have been trained where it's like, okay, like, you know, take medicine, for example, even, alternative medicine, it's often about, let's find the problem so then we can therefore apply the correct solution to fix the problem, right? And this is kind of the paradigm we live in, is find the problem, find the solution, fix the problem. But here's the thing. What happens when it's not a problem? What happens when the thing that we're experiencing isn't a problem? We just don't like it, right? Because that's what happens with things that are challenging. It's not that they're a problem, it's that we don't like it. And we don't want it to happen. We want it to stop. So the question then becomes, how do I change my relationship to that? Because I'm not gonna like it. Like I'm never gonna like it, And here's the interesting thing, is that with a different paradigm, we can actually step out of that thinking and actually come into a more experiential process. But the thing is, it's not linear. So it's messy. Just like our biology, it has its own timing, right? It has its own rhythm. So I guess like a couple things, because I don't want to make this really long video, but there are a couple core fundamentals that I wanted to kind of like plant the seeds for, that I think are really important. I think one of the big things is actually really really releasing our need to know how to fix the problem. Even deeper than that, acknowledging that maybe it's not even a problem. So the thing that we're struggling with, the thing that we're fighting against, the thing that we're trying to fix, like a really potent piece is, what if that is inherently intelligent? And what if it's supposed to be? So what if actually that's supposed to be part of the experience? So there's sort of like just a permission to let that experience be. The other piece I wanted to offer is around, I've been talking a little bit about origins, I've been talking a little bit about field. What is this thing? And for those of you who aren't aware, origins is going to be a kind of like a immersion taster for being in the biodynamic field. So it's kind of like giving yourself a cranial psychotherapy session in itself. And it's an invitation to experience yourself from a different perspective. And it's an experience. There's no goal orientation. There's no expected outcomes. So the pieces that I actually kind of wanted to drop in here just to plant some seeds are some of these kind of fundamental places. What would happen if we release an expected outcome? What if instead of fixing a problem, we decide to create a relationship that is curious around that thing that maybe we're battling against? Is it possible that it's not bad? Is it possible that it's not wrong? There's a really like a lot of charge when we are like really struggling and fighting against something that we think should be different, right? Even for example, take tension. The other day I woke up with like a weird like kink thing going on in my neck and shoulder. And, most of us instinctively were like, I don't like this experience, so I want to change it. So how can I do that? And we start doing some massage and this and that and movement. And just as an example, another offering is to actually be with that discomfort. And for me, I actually place my hands on my body where I feel like I needed some support, and I held kind of my head and I held my neck, and I propped up some pillows, and I really just with my own touch listened in. Just felt the experience of what was happening. Didn't I don't need to make it go away. It's not wrong. What if tension is just a simple expression? What if it doesn't have this meaning about, our age or our state of being or consciousness or brokenness or like all this other stuff, Can it just be my animal body having an expression? Can it just be a little habit maybe I developed in the last couple of days of how I move? Can I just listen to what it wants to tell me? Can I let it be tense? Does it want to be more tense? Like, how can I support you in what you want to tell me without being like, okay, how can I make you go away? Right? I don't know if you guys can feel the difference in that. But it's like there's a really big difference. I mean, imagine if you were having a conversation that was uncomfortable with someone and the energy was, I just want this conversation to end. I want you to go away, versus how can I listen to what you really need to express? How can I be more comfortable and okay with whatever it is that you have to tell me? Right? Anyone in any kind of relationship knows that those two dynamics will produce very different results, right? But this is the thing, we're in conversation with our animal being. We're in conversation with our human expression. We can't override those things, nor should we override those things. I'm just going to see if there's any questions. And hello. And yeah, okay. I think that is all for right now. I feel like there's more. I'm sure there's so much more. But yeah, we'll leave that for right now. If you have questions, let me know. And yeah, those are the seeds that I wanted to plant. What would happen if we kind of release our obsession with um, fixing, fixing ourselves, fixing others? What would happen if we can actually just release the need, the urge, the craving to want to fix? What would happen? Hmm. All right, my dears. Well, also, if you are curious about origins, further down, there is a little bit more information. The first workshop, the first session will be this June, and they are going to be independent. So you can come to one and enjoy it. And if that's all you need for nourishment, awesome. If you want to keep coming, I will be doing them about once a month, potentially more, we'll see. But for now, we'll do one once a month. It's about 2.5, 3 hour session um, of guided embodiment work, working in the biodynamic paradigm. So really learning how to be with yourself in a different way, learning how to really like receive yourself from a place where there isn't a destination, from a place that there isn't a particular goal, a place of really pure beingness. So if that's something that is curious, um, June 22nd at 3 p.m. Central Time is the next one, which is also summer solstice. So yeah. Anyway, my dears, we're also in 2 days. We have a full moon coming up today at this recording. It is June 12th and June 14th. We have a beautiful full moon in Sagittarius. So I feel there's like kind of a bit of a celebratory energy coming up. So enjoy, 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 and happy Sunday.